I mean, you started with the question is why don't we consider the civil rights movement a revival? I want to come back to that. And you kind of hinted at it here. When the revival at Asbury was in full bloom, I was getting bombarded by questions on social media from people like, Sky, what do you think about this? Is this real? How do you interpret this? Blah, 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 blah. And one of my responses is, I hope it's genuine. I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't be. But it's probably going to take years, maybe decades, before we really will know, because it takes that long for the fruit. And I mentioned, let's see what happens in this community. Let's see if there's reconciliation. Let's see if there's pursuit of justice. Let's see if there's forgiveness and unity across barriers in society. Like, that's evidence of a gospel revival movement happening. But it takes a long, long time to see that. It's not just in the moment. And you basically just said the same thing. In the civil rights movement, you do see those things.
Yeah.
You do see reconciliation. You do see strongholds coming down. You do see black and white believers locked in arms to pursue the way of God and his kingdom. You do see taking Jesus' words in the Sermon on the Mount seriously, with loving your enemies and not retaliating. You see all of that. And yet, I can't think of a single time where I have ever been presented any instruction about the civil rights movement, whether academic or ecclesiastical, that approached it through the lens of spiritual revival. I've never had it presented to me that way. And the only reason I can really think of, other than because it was led by black leaders, is because most of white America has primarily viewed the civil rights movement as a political movement rather than as a spiritual one. Why do we do that? And why is something, once it's deemed political, automatically discarded as not part of Christ's work and kingdom?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the line that my old late mentor, Dr. Norm Geisler, used to tell me when I would ask him questions that were complexing. He would go, "The devil," because there are dark demonic powers that want us to live in deception and not clarity, that want us to live in lies and not truth. And I think that in our nation, for a movement to be led by Black people was deemed inferior to movements led by our white brothers and sisters, and it shouldn't be that way. And frankly, the movement led by Black brothers and sisters impinged upon the power of white brothers and sisters. And so history has not been kind, particularly in an evangelical space. So for me, I think it's very spiritual that life in the womb is protected at a greater level by law. I believe that's a spiritual thing. And so what happens in the spirit realm touches the physical realm and vice versa, right? So as Christians, we're incarnational people. The temple is where heaven and earth dwelt. When Jesus came, he was heaven and earth in a man. Now that heaven and earth lives in us because we are the temple of God, what we do should bring the resources of heaven to bear witness on earth. And so, yeah, the gospel should affect, like King Jesus would want people to go, oh, the Constitution says all men are created equal. So then why can't Black folks vote? Why is gerrymandering bad? Why is saying that elections were stolen bad? you know, and so like we have to, Jesus is Lord of every square inch of the universe. To quote, I think it's what's his name, Kippinger or
Kuiper. Yeah.
Kuiper. Yeah, I mean that was some smart stuff he said, and so we can't isolate the redemptive work. Like Democrats and Republicans don't own the gospel. Matter of fact, 99.9% of all Christians who've ever been born and followed Jesus were not Democrat or Republican. The kingdom of God bears witness and transcends all, and we want to be tapped into that. But we have to wean our addiction to this individualistic gospel that says, Jesus died for my sins, I'm forgiven, and I don't go to hell. That's a little part of it. But there's so much more, like participating in the very life of the Trinity, being a reconciler, a peacemaker, a justice bringer. Those who've been justified by the blood of God are to embody justice in the world. But Sky, this isn't being preached from pulpits. The gospel you preach is the churches you get, and the churches you get are the byproduct of the gospel you preach. We need to have a gospel reformation that Jesus is Lord, not Trump, not Obama, not Nero. Jesus is Lord, and our allegiance is to him and to him alone as we stumble and fumble our way through this life into the new heavens and new earth.